Happy 2016, everybody. Clouded Journey here with my official first annual, I don't know if I'll do it again, but I'm doing it this year, annual awards for the best comics of 2015. Not just the best, but the awards for a lot of different things. There's some best, there's some worst, there's some disappointments, there's some unsung heroes, that sort of thing. These are my thoughts, my opinions on a lot of the books that I read. I read quite a bit this year. Most of my videos are back issue videos, but I also read quite a few of new comics and stuff. Let's get into it, guys. Now, I know you guys are probably thinking these are my opinions and stuff, but this is the definitive truth. So just a heads up on that. I'm kind of like the Academy Awards of comics here. First up, we're going to go with the most overhyped book of the year. I saw a lot of videos, people picking this book up, speculating about it, thinking it was going to be this huge thing. There's a lot of talk that it had a very low print run. I do not own one. That book is Scooby-Doo Team Up number 12 featuring Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. Just everybody bought this book after it was hyped up. People were saying super low print run, one of the lowest Harley Quinn print runs. It's going to be worth all this money. It's not worth anything. It's probably an okay book. I remember Sleepy Reader talking about it, getting a little bit annoyed because him and his daughter actually read that book. And for people who actually maybe like that book, it would be annoying to come in and all these speculators have bought up every issue, hoping they're going to make a bunch of money on it. But yeah, very overhyped book. Not a lot to it, not a lot of substance, nothing really significant happening there. Just a fun little book. If you have it and you enjoy it, great. Don't feel bad about it, but don't expect to make lots of money. I'm not going to keep this negative. I want to keep this positive. I love comics. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. You hear a lot of negative stuff about where comics are at, comics in general. I'm going with the Unsung Hero Award. So this was a book I thought was really, really great, and I heard very few people talking about it. Didn't seem like a lot of people were picking it up. And the book is Mark Waid's Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. They had various artists on it. It became a book that was based on the show, but at least the first 5 or 6 issues was more of an Agent Coulson team-up book. They were single issue stories. The idea is Coulson knows this Marvel Universe inside and out. He knows all these characters so well. So if they had a very unique problem, he would know the perfect hero to contact to come help with that problem. There's a lot of really just fun, different stories with different characters. You had Spider-Man, you had Miss Marvel, you had Scarlet Witch, lots of characters. And it sort of it eventually sort of morphed and became more of a Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like the TV show crossover with some of those characters. And I didn't know those characters. I still enjoyed the book, though. So specifically the first sort of 5 or 6 issues of that book were really, really great. And I didn't hear almost anyone talking about it or anyone picking it up. But I'm kind of a Mark Waid fanboy, so maybe that's why. I just kind of buy what he makes and see how it goes. The Miniseries Award. So this would be a series that sort of had a beginning, middle, and end planned. 6 issues or whatever. I had a few nominations for this. I had We Stand on Guard by Brian K. Vaughan. If you're sort of a political type, you might enjoy that. If you aren't, you might hate it because you're thinking, why is he making Americans these terrible people in this? Renew Your Vows by Dan Slott, one of the best Spider-Man stories he's written in a long time, one of the only ones I liked. It's still sort of as Dan Slott does, fizzled out at the end. So I'm going to have to give the best miniseries, even though it's not completed, award to Secret Wars. Yes, I did it. I know, it seems crazy. They had all these problems. Everything got out late. For me, it does somewhat limit the impact of what happened from Secret Wars, but that doesn't even seem to matter in most books, so that doesn't bother me that much. Jonathan Hickman and Esad Ribic, who's done a really great job. He must be a slow artist or something. I don't know why it's taking forever, but it must come down to that, because the art has been beautiful. Beautiful Alex Ross covers every time. Just really, really wonderfully done job. So we'll see how the Marvel Universe wraps up, or how it works into what we have now. I'm not really exactly sure. I'm glad the book, even though it came out late, it came out and it was really well written. And the actual main story is the best of any event book I've ever read of that story. Usually what happens with events is it ends up being sort of a hub book where you read that, but it's all the sort of side stories that make the event interesting. Where this one, the actual main story was really good, really interesting. I haven't read a lot of Doctor Doom and Fantastic Four stuff, but I love what he did with all the Fantastic Four. He sort of took over the world. And minor spoilers here. Put Ben Grimm as the Wall. He changed him into the Wall. He turned Johnny Storm into the Sun. His greatest enemies he sort of dominated in his own godly way. Beautifully done. A lot of different interesting characters going on, different people leading regions and things like that. Just thought it was a really cool story. Worked really well. I'm excited to see how it ends. There's one more issue left, so I guess potentially it could be terrible, but I just thought even those 11 issues that already happened are better than all the other miniseries that had come out. So that's why I gave that one the win this year. Best new ongoing series for me is going to go to Jeff Lemire, Descender. I wasn't so sure about it right at the beginning, but as it went on, I really enjoyed this book. Sort of space opera, sci-fi, about robots and androids. You got the mystery, you got the interesting dynamic of their team that they're forming, different types of characters, all the types of things I love in a good sci-fi story. Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen on art. So excellent series. Really enjoy it. They've had their first arc, so 6 issues. I actually got the first issue handed to me by Jeff Lemire himself at Seattle Comic-Con, so Emerald City Comic-Con, so that was pretty awesome. All right, so the award for the best rebooted title, so taking an older character, rebooting them, pumping some fresh new life into them. Again, it's going to Mark Waid and Fiona Staples for Archie. I obviously read tons of Archies as a kid. I don't know if you guys did. Road trips, things like that. We always had the digest, double digest. I just plowed through those things like crazy. Always enjoyed them. And so seeing like a really great writer and artist team sort of take those characters and breathe new life into them, bring them an original backstory, sort of explain what's going on and have a good ongoing series. A lot of fun, really beautifully done. And you just care about those characters. You feel like you sort of know them, but there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in their lives, behind the scenes, how it all works. It just works really well. So, and at the end of each issue, they have classic Archie stories they have the first Archie story, they have the first time Archie meets Betty, that kind of thing. So definitely worth checking out, guys. If you haven't read those, find those, read them. Fiona Staples back on Saga right now, so she's not doing the art, so that sucks, but still really great book. All right, another negative one, my biggest disappointment of the year. I'm going to give Bendis the double deuce on this. Man, Old Man Logan was so disappointing to me. I really love Old Man Logan, the original series. That character, he just basically made a Wolverine story, when the whole thing with Old Man Logan that makes him great is he's sort of this broken individual. He doesn't like to fight. He's wandering through these interesting places, which they kind of had. The art style, although it looked really nice, it just didn't fit the story for me for what I wanted to see. I wanted to see more action, more fighting, more of him interacting with these other places and stuff. It was a lot of him like reconnecting with X-Men and things like that. It didn't have a lot of impact with me. It was slow. It was sort of dull. There was a couple moments that were okay. It just was really mediocre. He didn't have the baby, the Hulk baby would have been awesome. There's just so much great stuff in the original, and this one was just such a disappointment. And also Ultimate End. I never read Ultimate stuff from the beginning. I read a bunch of Ultimate Spider-Man, but it's the end of the Ultimate Universe. It's sort of his baby that he built and had a huge impact on and really helped him establish himself as a writer and as a big shot in Marvel. And, he just let it go out with such a weak fizzle. He didn't seem to really understand what was going on in Secret Wars that much. It didn't make a ton of sense. And the book itself was just very dull and not really anything happened. And there was a couple interesting little moments. The last issue, Mark Bagley, he saved it a little bit. He did some great impactful stuff. And then the ending was just, I don't know, predictable. And it was just a big disappointment, which is what the award is. So both those titles. I don't know why I set myself up. I'm just not a huge Bendis fan. I think he's fine. Like, he's never bad. He's sometimes good, but he's usually just fine, in my opinion. And he always leaves me wanting more at the end. All right, the biggest hole to fill is got to be DC Comics this year. After Convergence, they just got slammed. They're down $2 million. I guess the whole somewhat soft reboot, trying to have your cake and eat it too mentality they did not pay off. You had guys like me, I dropped a ton of DC books when that happened because I didn't really want to get into it. I don't think DC is very good at events personally. They don't fill you in on what's going on. They don't explain it. When they had the 1 year later thing, I was really annoyed. It took over a few of my books and they didn't explain what it was or what was going on. Swamp Thing made no sense. They seem to assume you're reading all their books and are up to date. So I dropped a few of my books. Seems like a lot of other people did. I think what they were doing with Convergence was trying to get some of the pre-New 52 fans back and just failed miserably because those guys that didn't come back and they lost new people. So maybe these companies will think twice about sort of these reboot techniques that they do all the time. I don't mind a reboot once in a while. You got to clean up the mess. There's just so much junk lying around sometimes. You got to tidy it up, tighten the screws. That's okay. I think it should be more planned. They should do it once every 5 or 6 years. Maybe not like a hardcore reboot, but a big event that's going to clean up some things a little bit. But what these companies do is they never seem to plan very far ahead, make decisions a few months ahead of time. They look at where the numbers are, they panic, they do things like this. So Secret Wars, like some of the titles didn't even know that was coming. It sort of really hit them out of the blue. And you really got to plan these things. So DC has some ground to make up. It's got a lot riding on Dark Knight 3, which I don't know how good it's going to be. I haven't even read it. I'm waiting for the trade to come out after it's all done. And at the same time, they take Batman out of Batman. I'm loving Jim Gordon as Batman. Don't get me wrong. I'm really enjoying that. But when you're losing all these readers on other books and then you don't have Bruce Wayne as Batman in your main Batman title, you're going to have a problem with certain people. Like, people don't like too much change like that, especially when they're already struggling. It's exactly how I was with Superior Spider-Man. I was not in the mood for a Doc Ock story, even though there's some great stuff in there. When you're struggling as a company as a whole to like take your flagship character out of his main book, that's pretty bold, but I guess they trust Scott Snyder. So ultimately, I think this year was a pretty good year in comics. I think there were some interesting moments. Daredevil ended, which was disappointed. It's been rebooted with Charles Soule back to sort of the gritty noir style, which I don't like nearly as much. That's traditionally a lot of what Daredevil was. I think Mark Waid did a great job balancing sort of fun-loving elements, shorter story arcs, a lot of like 1 and 2 issue story arcs, with some depth, even though they're fairly simple stories. And they still dealt with those serious issues. He still dealt with his depression and other issues with his mother and things like that without it being so sort of downer and depressing. So yeah, it's interesting what Charles Soule's doing now. I like the idea of him as a prosecutor. That's a really great idea. Hopefully we'll see some good things out of that. Image is continuing to kick ass. They are showing up new titles all the time, interesting stuff. They really are changing the market. What's happening now, I find the reason all these people are getting annoyed because Marvel and DC are rebooting titles and stuff all the time, but it's because I think of Image that's happening. Because what Image is doing is they're bringing out these new series all the time. They're really going in a different direction, a lot of creativity, different writers and artists. They'll have 6, 12 issue arcs. They might be somewhat ongoing, but they usually don't last too many more than like 10 to 20 issues. And that's fine for people because they like these fresh, new, different ideas. They read them for a while and then they drop that book and they get onto another fresh idea. So people just aren't reading the way they used to, where they used to want a huge run of Spider-Man that went for 300 issues, 200 issues, whatever. And, you can't break that numbering because I don't want to start back at 1. I'm at 220 now. I've been collecting Spider-Man forever. There's so many titles now that people don't want to collect hundreds of the same book and just keep that same run going. Times they are changing, man. Like, for the good, for the bad, I don't know. What I'd really like to see the companies do is focus more long-term, have a long-term plan that involves good story writing, letting the writers sort of have their arcs and finishing through the stories they want to tell without making them throw in an event here and there, making them respond to this or that. Have a calendar with a plan and stick to that plan. Don't panic. Don't change your system because all these variants, all these sort of 90s techniques, they work to a certain extent. They do make money, but in the long run, you lose people because it's really the great stories and the great art that keeps people reading and watching over the long term. Last award here before I takeoff is going to be the Early Awesomeness Award of 2015. So these books, I think, definitely deserve a mention. Came out like at the tail end of this year, have a lot of potential, but not enough to really have an award on their own. They've only had a couple issues, and that's going to be The Vision by Tom King, Gabriel Hernandez Waltz. Really great book, very creepy, different style comic. The Vision has created his own family, and he's trying to understand what that means. And so it's a wrestling of what it is to be human or not human. It sort of feels like if Data from Star Trek had a family, something like that. So definitely worth reading if you're into that sort of thing. And also Superman, American Alien. That's by Max Landis with various artists. Really great so far. The kind of story I think a lot of Superman fans are looking for. The pure-hearted, good, all-star Superman style Superman miniseries. So it's sort of, I think it's 12 issues or 7 issues of very distinct times in Superman's life as he grew up. So first 2 issues have been really great. Highly recommend this book. Check it out. Give DC some coins back. You know, they're struggling. They need a few bucks. So yeah, that's going to be it, guys. Happy New Year. I'm going to have maybe some best books from 2016. I also got a whole bunch of half-off day comics, so I'm going to post a video on that. I don't have time to do all this stuff. Guys, come on. I got 2 kids, a wife, a job. I'm trying to do other stuff. So I do my best. Thank you so much, guys, for watching my videos throughout the year and everything, and commenting, all that, and just the community. It's been really great. Appreciate it so much. So thanks, guys. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Have a good year. Be safe. Read comics. We'll talk to you later.